In our last discussion, we talked about the advantages of international trade. One of the reasons we said in the last discussion of why countries would want to specialize and trade is comparative advantage theory. So, what is comparative advantage theory? Well, comparative advantage exists when a country has a lower opportunity cost in the production of a good or service as compared to another country. Now, this means that a country has to give up fewer units of the other goods to produce the good in question. For example, if I am a country, let's say country Pakistan, and I have a comparative advantage in cotton, then whenever I make cotton, I am diverting resources from the production of another good. Because my opportunity cost is low, I have to divert less resources than another country which is also planning to produce cotton. So what we say is this: because of you as a country having a lower opportunity cost, you end up specializing in that good, and therefore end up trading in that good because you can make the good at a lower opportunity cost. And if all the countries specialize in the production in the goods that they have a comparative advantage, the theory suggests that there will be an increase in not only total output but also an improvement in economic welfare. So let's talk about this through a numerical example of how comparative advantage could be good. So let's assume that we have a case of two countries, let's say UK and US, and we're looking at a situation that these two countries are producing two goods, but the way they're producing these two goods is this: that they are devoting same quantity of resources like land, labor, capital, enterprise in the production of two goods. Let's say these two goods are vacuum cleaners and digital cameras. So the two countries are UK and US, and they're devoting their resources, land, labor, capital, enterprise, equally in the production of both goods, which is digital camera and vacuum cleaner. So I'm assuming the amount of resources that they are devoting are the same. Let's see what will happen when they do so. When they divert these resources in the production of two goods, we can look at their production possibilities. So on my left hand side, I have UK, and on my right hand side, I have US. When you look at UK, they have a PPC which looks like this, where if they devote all the resources to digital camera, let's say they make 20 of these digital cameras, while if they devote all their resources to vacuum cleaner, they'll get 40. But right now, let's say they're not devoting sort of all the resources to the production of one good. Let's say they're just basically producing in the middle half of their land, labor, capital goes to the production of, like vacuum cleaner, and half of it is going to digital camera. So they're not specializing, they're producing somewhere at this middle point A, where 50% of the resources are going to digital camera and 50% is going to vacuum cleaner. On the other hand, when you look at US has a situation something like this. They can actually, if they devote all their resources to digital camera, they can make 40 of it, and all their resources to vacuum cleaner, they can make 20 of it. But right now, they are also like focusing on in the production of both goods, so they're making 10 and 20, or in other words, they are at point B. Now, the next step for us will be to, number one, find out the opportunity cost for both the countries of the production of these goods. Second, we'll find out who will have a lower opportunity cost. Third, we'll find out who will specialize in what as a result of that lower opportunity cost. And lastly, we'll make these countries trade to figure out, is it beneficial to trade or not when you have a lower opportunity cost. So let's look at UK first. If you look at UK's case, they can make either 20 of DC or 40 of VC. Now I can write this opportunity cost. I can say 20 DC is equal to 40 VC, or in other words, 1 DC is equal to 2 VC, or I can also write this as 1 VC is equal to half DC. Because if you bring that 2 on this other side, it becomes half DC for every 1 VC. Now when you look at US, on the other hand, US is 40 DC is equal to 20 VC, or in other words, 1 DC is equal to half VC, or if I rewrite this, it will be 2 DC is equal to 1 VC. Now, let's look at opportunity cost. You can totally understand this when you're looking at UK. For every 1 VC, they sacrifice half of digital cameras. The sacrifice is much less as compared to US, which is making, whenever they make 1 VC, they're losing 2. So we can say this: whenever US make 1 VC, they lose more, while UK make 1 VC, they lose less, which means UK has a lower opportunity cost in the production of vacuum cleaners, or in other words, UK has a comparative advantage in vacuum cleaners. But let's say if you look at US now, US, when they make one digital camera, they lose half of vacuum cleaner. But on the other hand, when the same digital camera is made by UK, they lose two, which means US has a lower opportunity cost in the production of vacuum cleaner. So I can say this, that US has a comparative advantage in digital camera. So now let's say that if US is good at digital camera, they should focus only in the production of digital camera. So let's say they decide to specialize only in this, so they will make not B but B dash, because now they would devote all their resources in the production of digital camera. On the other hand, UK will focus only on vacuum cleaners. So now we're looking at a situation, they will be at A dash. So I made UK to specialize and only produce vacuum cleaners, and US to specialize and only produce digital camera. Now, this would mean if I look at my after specialization situation versus pre-specialization, this is how it will look like. So before specialization or pre-specialization, UK was making 20 of VC and 10 of DC, while US was making 10 of VC and 20 of DC, which means the total world output, if these were the only two countries, was 30 of vacuum cleaner and 30 of digital camera. Now, when we made them specialize, where UK decided to produce only vacuum cleaners, they are now making 40, which means total output for the world has gone to 40 because US is making nothing of vacuum cleaner. On the other hand, US will now focus only on digital camera, and here the total output has also gone to 40. Now you can see this, that only through specialization we have been able to increase our world output, because now the one country that is good at one good is producing that good only, and not the other one where it is not good at. What do we do after we specialize? Well, we have to make them trade. So we need to now find out what we call an exchange rate or terms of trade that are mutually beneficial for both countries. The exchange rate which will be beneficial for both countries will be one which could be lying in between the two opportunity costs. So the exchange rate, let's say, will be in between the two opportunity costs. So if you remember, when you look at UK, the opportunity cost is one vacuum cleaner is equal to half digital camera, while for US the opportunity cost is one vacuum cleaner is equal to two digital cameras. So one exchange rate that can be mutually beneficial for both countries. So let me write this: terms of trade or exchange rate that can be mutually beneficial for both countries will be one which could be 1 VC is equal to 1 DC. Now I'll explain this, why this exchange rate of 1 VC is equal to 1 DC can be mutually beneficial for both countries, or in other words, both countries will get most out of it through specialization and then trading on this exchange rate. Now what I've done here is this: I've put these two countries on the same graph. I have 20, 40, which means this is my country UK, while 40, 20 is US. Now as we know that UK is only right now making vacuum cleaners, so they are at A dash, while US is only making digital cameras, so let's call this to be B dash. Now the exchange rate, which we argue can be mutually beneficial for both countries, is one vacuum cleaner is equal to one digital camera. So let's say if we take one vacuum cleaner is equal to one digital camera, we will have a situation where for every 40 of DC, if I give it to the other country with this exchange rate, I'll get 40 of VC. And vice versa, for every 40 of VCs, if I give it to the other country, I'll get 40 of DC. So in other words, we can actually trace what we call a trading line, which is a line of trade between these countries, which will look something like this. For every 40, you get 40, and similarly, for every 40, the other country will get 40. Now, this basically means that you can see right now they are getting 40, but let's say if UK says, I will give away my 40, from my 40, I will give away 20 of my vacuum cleaner, then how much will I get in return? And the answer is, if you give 20 of your vacuum cleaners to US, they will give you 20 digital cameras in return. So what we, in other words, point out is the idea that this becomes a possibility of consumption for UK. And vice versa, let's say US, from the 40 of DC, they give away 20 of their digital cameras, they will get 20 of vacuum cleaner in return, which means 2020 will also be a possibility for them. In other words, you guys can see this, that prior to international trade, they both had PPCs which were not at point X. Because of international trade, the production possibility frontier has moved to the right, and a combination like 20 and 20, which was previously not possible, has actually become possible. So not only the international trade has allowed them to produce more, but also consume more, as both countries are now consuming at point X, which is mutually beneficial and has a higher utility, or has a higher production possibility. This line X is basically called our trading line, which we have formed through our exchange rate, which was 1 VC is equal to 1 DC.